Good afternoon. Oh, good morning. Sorry. Didn't check my watch. And welcome to the 2016 State of the University Address. My name is Gail Hackett, and I have the privilege of serving as Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs here at Virginia Commonwealth University. I am so pleased to see so many of you here today in the University Student Commons, and I'm thankful to the many others who are joining us via live streaming through our website, vcu.edu. I'm very pleased to welcome VCU Board of Visitors members Jackie Stone and Reverend Tyrone Nelson, who are here with us today, as well as other board members who are joining us online. The State of the University Address is an annual tradition at VCU that provides our community, faculty, staff, and students the opportunity to reflect on our many successes and look forward to and learn about our future goals and aspirations. After his remarks, President Rao will take questions. We have microphones ready for questions in this room. Those of you watching online can post your questions on Twitter using hashtag VCUSOTU. That's VCU State of the University. Our moderator will ensure that those questions get to the stage. Last year at this time, I was watching President Rao's State of the University address from my office in Kansas City. I just accepted this job and I was really eager to learn more about this university, its leadership, and what made it distinctive. Needless to say, I wasn't disappointed. I couldn't wait to get here and be a part of this great university. Over the past 11 months, I've been lucky enough to serve in partnership with the people who embody VCU's distinctiveness: President Michael Rao, our dynamic faculty and staff, and our outstanding students. VCU embraces every individual, celebrates differences, encourages our mutual achievements, and creates truly idiosyncratic opportunities to merge our diverse talents and perspectives. These qualities are not just inviting for those of us who have the chance to join this university, they are vital in moving higher education successfully into the future and ensuring its relevance. VCU is indeed a special place with a significant role in defining the research university of the 21st century. Here is a brief video to give you an idea how.
Started off with my trip to the Syrian refugee camps, and we were trying to donate medical supplies there. It made me want to think deeper about how I can help in a more effective way. And that's what basically got me to discover medical anthropology. It's not just, your patient coming up to you and saying, okay, well, what's wrong with you today? It brings more empathy because it's an understanding of your patient's lived experience. The faculty and staff here are amazing. They do definitely encourage you to branch out. It shouldn't be about, I'm on my corner doing what I want to do. I think it's about, bridging gaps.
It's a diverse campus and we're immersed in the city. And so we have to interact with this city. We're social workers, so we should be out in the community. Every client that we interact with, they're kind of tied to the history of Richmond. I helped organize Richmond Revisited. Richmond Revisited goes into the community and learns the history so that we can come out and help them and empower them. VCU School of Social Work has helped me think from a different perspective. It kind of brings it all together.
Kids with cerebral palsy don't typically explore their environments the way normal kids do. They don't go out and have that interaction. And as a result, they end up cognitively delayed. The baby crawler that amplifies movement, so children who couldn't propel themselves, this device assists them in that process. It broadens the ability of a child to explore, which is good for brain development. Physical therapy often has identified problems with treatment, and there are times when the engineering solutions are there, but one side doesn't recognize what the other side can do for them. What VCU provides is the ability to cross disciplines, and that I've found has been very powerful.
Richmond Health and Wellness Program is an interprofessional care model where we deliver care in the homes where older adults live, generally those that are underserved. The patients love it. I think a lot of them appreciate us coming to them. I also think the residents take it as an opportunity to teach the students about how they want to be cared for. It's kind of a departure from business as usual. VCU is a great place for things like this because it allows for collaboration in non-traditional ways to ensure that we're getting the best possible care for those patients.
I was a sculpture student studying pre-med. The first surgery that I saw at VCU, the first thought was surgery is sculpture. If we could really nourish this really artistic component of surgery, it could be tremendously beneficial. The work that I've done more recently has been creating medical sculptures for surgeons in training. The key thing that we're trying to develop is a real fine eye. There's so many professors, doctors here who are so enthusiastic about this idea. This sort of pioneer spirit has been completely welcome. The possibilities are endless.
Now, will you all please join me in welcoming the President of Virginia Commonwealth University, Dr. Michael Rao.
Good morning. Thank you all so much for being here and for joining us. Provost Hackett, thank you so much for your very kind and generous words and that wonderful introduction. Your first year here at VCU as Provost has been a wonderful demonstration of your wisdom, your vision, and without question, your inexorable will to get things done, which we all appreciate very much. You and Marcia Rapley lead with distinction a really wonderful faculty that is so inspiring and so innovative, one that frankly reminds us that what we do every single day at this institution is relevant far beyond our campus. You know, that's because the history of higher education is really the history of human progress. Universities are unequaled in our commitments to inquiry, innovation, and invention. We've educated those who have shaped the past and those who will conceive the future as well. We've launched stunning industries and prosperous societies and the conviction that all of us have a voice in leading them. Universities have improved lives, they've changed lives, they've saved lives, and they've really given life meaning. The story of universities is inspiring, but times are changing. We know that because as catalysts of innovation, we've been changing things for years, in part because of the technology and the ideas that have come from our labs, our clinics, our studios. We now live in a time of instant connection and access, prosperous longevity, and more opportunity for everyone. The world has changed, there's no question about that, but universities haven't changed as quickly. And thus, I must say, we have fallen behind. We're not always relevant in the ways that we once were. To many, universities are now seen as institutions rather than opportunities. So just consider a recent Pew survey that found that fewer than half of all Americans, just 42% by the way, now say that graduating from college is the best way to succeed. 57% believe that getting along with other people is really the best ticket to the top. And nearly 2/3 say working hard is really your best bet. Most Americans believe that a college education is no longer a great value, as they've watched student loans triple in the last decade. And by the way, they now eclipse credit card debt. While these views may be viewed by some of us as simplistic and perhaps they are naive, we do have to recognize what they're telling us. One, that we need to think critically and urgently about just what our mission is and whether we really have the courage to meet it. And two, We need to re-examine the strategies we've used to achieve our mission and to ensure that they address the challenges that will confront humankind over the next decade. We must ensure, for example, that the curricula and the teaching methods that we use to educate our students, the health care that we provide, the research that we do, and the ways that we engage our community will all transform lives in relevant ways. The 21st century is a new era where we learn in new ways, we create new things, and depend on each other for new partnerships. What matters now is the sustainability of our legacy, not fleeting ovations. And so it is that the 21st century university must become something new. We must become more relevant to the people who depend on us. That commitment begins right here at VCU. Well, why VCU? Because we focus neither on status nor on status quo. Because we inspire the next wave of pioneers and discoverers. Because what we do here, what we conceive, what we create, and what we cure is inseparable from the communities that we serve. Our teaching, our research, our health care, and our engagement with our communities, the cornerstones upon which we've built what we now know to be a truly remarkable university, serve not to propel us in the rankings, although they've certainly done that in many areas, and we're appreciative of that. Rather, we do these things because they make human life a better thing. It's our highest and best calling as a public research university to drive innovation, progress, and compassion for those who learn here, who teach here, who create here, who heal here, and for the countless lives that they will someday touch. The impact of what we do, the ripples we make in the pond, are profound and they are unbounded. As we have taken our place among the nation's elite public research universities, we have also positioned ourselves at the intersection of access and excellence in ways that very few others have. We see this among our student body. For 3 years in a row now, our freshman class has been both the most diverse and the most academically accomplished in our university's long history, proving that the highest standards really arise only from the highest principles. Our medical center is both the Commonwealth's top-ranked hospital and it's the safety net that serves all of its people, proving that the best care comes when you treat your neighbors and not just their diseases. We also show that a more relevant university is both industrious and it's inspiring. Our research record of our faculty matches any university in Virginia, and we are the only one to close the gap in graduation rates for underrepresented minority students, which is our proof that transformational teaching is still the soul of any great research university. And we've done all of this in ways that no one else has, with many fewer means than our peers, but ample talent and ample grit. That is, first and foremost, because of our people. You are visionary, and you're very inspiring. You are changing what a university can be. You're why I'm confident that VCU is a more relevant university for the 21st century. Our success, thanks to you, has been swift and it's been undeniable. It's also a threshold. It's also a threshold. There is still progress to make if we're to be a more relevant university for a more modern time. At this occasion last year, you might remember we talked about what I described as distinctiveness. So now what? What comes beyond being distinctive? Well, now it's time to be the university that we've worked so hard to become, and that this new world needs us to become. And to do that, we've got to be more relevant to this changed world. So what do I mean? Well, what I mean is a university that's relevant for the 21st century has to be relevant in 3 ways. First, to our students, who now thrive in a new kind of educational environment. They learn things in different ways. Second, to our community, which needs us to be a force of good that drives the region forward. And third, to the world, which is depending on us to solve the confounding problems of our time. So let me talk a little bit about how VCU can do just these things. First, our students. VCU students are, of course, exceptional. I have never seen a student body that is as focused and serious-minded in thinking about how they might someday change the world, like Bara Elshair, or Jamala Williams, who you just saw in that video that we played, or Melissa Davis, whose work at the VCU Rice River Center and around the world is combating rising sea levels that threaten our coasts. Or Ashwin Sood, who began an organization to provide medical relief to the most desperate people in Ghana. Or our students, who all come here to earn degrees that open new doors. They look for an experience that opens new horizons. Recently, we asked current and prospective students what they hope to gain by coming to VCU. What's their most important thing about VCU, at VCU? Well, taken together, 80% of them said that it's a curriculum that includes a practical experience. Less than a quarter of them, by the way, actually said that they hope to just get jobs by getting their education. That's because our students don't grow up thinking about the jobs that they want to have. They grow up thinking about the problems that they want to solve, and they're relentless in their quest to solve them. And so, as a more relevant university for our students, VCU will help them do just that. We will be at the intersection of education and opportunity, a home for scholars and practitioners. It will be here where you find your place and your potential, where make it real means that you're not dreaming about big things. It means that you're doing them. Our students don't want to be in the virtual world. They want to be in the real world. And they don't just want to be in it, they want to transform it. Our brand is unapologetically gritty and it's passionate, and it favors practice over pretense. That's a relevant university for our time, and that's the promise of VCU. So while many research universities choose not to involve undergraduates as part of their research enterprise, we make it a priority. Why would a research university, one whose innovations fuel human progress, disengage our largest populations from our greatest mission? Well, we shouldn't. And at VCU, we never will. I want to ensure that both your degree and your experience at VCU are relevant. I want to make it real mean something very real. That's why I'm pleased to announce that beginning with this fall's entering class, all students will have a real-world experience as part of their VCU education. Now, this does occur, of course, in pockets like in dental hygiene, for just one example, where students tackle community issues related to oral health on their way to their degree. But I want to expand it and be certain that it exists every place at VCU. These experiences will become part of VCU's overall curriculum, which means that every student who earns a degree here will be well regarded for their thoughtfulness and their deep thinking, and because they have used their education to make a mark on humanity, even before they hit the job market. This experience will help our students develop as scholars who are going to contribute to their fields, and as servants who will contribute to their world. Its relevancy will be its impact. It gives our students consent to soar, to test themselves, to find themselves beyond themselves. This will change the educational experience at VCU by making it absolutely indistinguishable from social issues. And that makes it more relevant. We also become more relevant to our students when we think about the physical environment in which we all learn here. In about a month, we'll cut the ribbon on our new children's pavilion at Broad and 11th Streets. It has been designed with a great eye toward the future of patient care and learning to provide the very best care that patients need to live long lives of wellness. For our students and their faculty mentors and our staff, it will provide an intraprofessional environment that fosters the best of collaboration. For our 350,000 patients, it's the first step in a monumental $2.5 billion makeover of one of the world's premier medical centers right here at VCU. VCU is incredible, and we should have world-class spaces that match world-class talent. And as with the Children's Pavilion, these spaces must be built for the future of education. On the Monroe Park campus, the Academic Learning Commons and the New Cabell Library are great reflections of this commitment. The way that students prefer to learn is changing, and so the spaces in which they learn have to change too. Our physical environment should be based on models of the future that will lead and innovate. It must move from being distinctive to being relevant, and that will make VCU a more relevant university. The new student experience at VCU, including what I call the Make It Real, real-world experience that will bring our students into their communities, will be part of a larger focus on engaging people around us. And that's the second way that VCU will be a more relevant university in this 21st century. We have to be relevant to our communities. We offer immense intellectual and institutional resources. We sit at the fulcrum of innovation, creativity, and development, and certainly healthcare for our region. We are the largest employer in Central Virginia, and of course I contend that we're also its best citizen. We have the chance to make a difference in the lives of people in ways that other institutions can't or perhaps will not. The gravest human diseases will be cured through university research, including that which is occurring at our own Massey Cancer Center, Pauley Heart Center, and beyond at this institution. The breakthroughs in science, engineering, and medicine that will send humans to new frontiers will be launched at universities, including VCU, by our psychologists, Deborah Diaz-Granados and Michael Curtis, who are partnering with NASA to study astronauts' mental well-being for a desolate 70 million mile mission to Mars. The best prospects for peace, for racial harmony, for eradicating hunger, for religious tolerance, well, these are going to come from the work that's being done right here at VCU and, of course, elsewhere. If we can't tackle these kinds of problems at research universities, where innovation is our North Star, then they won't happen anywhere. At a more relevant university, knowledge has purpose and scholarship has impact. It's real because we make it real. Like the hope that Ken Kendler is giving 350 million people by understanding the genetics of depression and working to find its cure. Or Frank Gupton's great work, funded by the Gates Foundation and DARPA, to make AIDS drugs much more affordable and more accessible. Or our Center for the City initiative, which will bring together resources of our university and our community to solve the most difficult problems that we share, especially those that are related to education and to healthcare. So let me give you one more profound example. Just a few years ago, our physicians in our trauma department noticed that they were treating the same patients over and over again. Often they were young people who were growing up in environments plagued by very high rates of violence and crime. So they could treat the wounds. They're among the very best in the world at doing that. We all know that. But they stopped and they realized that what they really needed to do was treat the root causes of the trauma, the things that were landing these young people right here in the first place. For example, young people in Richmond are 6 times more likely to die from gun violence than average Americans who are aged 10 to 24. The re-injury rate for victims of intentional injury treated in our health system over the last 5 years has ranged from 10% to 50%. So, our trauma team, our faculty, launched a program called Bridging the Gap, which was aimed at preventing violence in the community through case management and alignment with community partners to educate and promote anti-violence advocacy. The results showed that young people enrolled in this program are far less likely to wind up in the ED again with similar kinds of injuries, but on top of that, they're much more likely to take advantage of helpful community services, and they're far less inclined to use drugs or use alcohol. Bridging the Gap has expanded its community-based prevention strategies for middle and high school-aged youth by working with partners like Boys and Girls Clubs, Richmond City Police Department, and Art 180. This is happening because our trauma teams realize that the best way that they can be relevant to those who they care for is by not needing to care for them at all. In trauma, as everywhere at VCU, we help people achieve, whether they're achieving through the power of an education, the hope of a cure, the progress of an innovation, or a renewed faith in their future. VCU is a university that improves the lives of all of our people around us, and that makes VCU a more relevant university. Finally, we must ensure that we are relevant to the vast world beyond our city. Richmond is our home, but we must remember that we are a global university. My vision for VCU is that the world beyond our campus will benefit from everything that we do. Whether or not you ever work or study or set foot on the VCU campus, your life is going to be better because we are here and we are thinking deeply. That begins with making sure that we look like the world that we lead. We have seen in national headlines and indeed on our own campus the critical importance of diversity and inclusion as central to everything that we do. Far too long, diversity has just been a buzzword in higher education, and it often has been more important to marketing than it has been to mission. It's unacceptable that someone might not succeed just because of what he looks like or how she thinks or who she loves or where he was born. It's unacceptable that any of us might miss the chance to learn from someone because their voice got hushed. It's unacceptable in the 21st century when we are connected like never before. It's certainly unacceptable at VCU, where we are collaborating like we've never collaborated before. That's why I was so moved when our community came together in the weeks before the winter break in what I consider to be remarkable unity. And the truth is that it's a tragedy for our industry that what has happened here was described as remarkable. Rather than following our clarion call to eradicate social injustices, universities far too often have been bound by them. To be a more relevant university to our beautifully diverse world, VCU has resolved that any person from any background can succeed here. We recognize that what makes our people unique is what makes this university great. We do more than seek out diversity, we seek nothing less. In everything that we do, from cutting-edge research to classroom debate to clinical care to purchasing and partnering, we include different voices, ideas, and disciplines. I remind my senior leadership team of this all the time, and I hold them accountable. Just like the Board of Visitors holds me accountable and our community holds me accountable. But this is not really just about being accountable. It's about doing what we know is right. It's about doing what's best for our educational experience and for the world that looks to us, for the kind of leadership that only VCU can provide. I've reminded you recently of our progress related to diversity and inclusion, and in many ways, we are a national model. Education Trust, by the way, and others have certainly called us that. And our progress is relevant for our nation's standing in the world. Experts believe that 60% of Americans should hold a college degree if we're to become competitive in this 21st century economy. You know, we're at less than 40% right now. The wealthy and the privileged have graduated from college for generations. So to close the gap, We've got to ensure that all people who choose to attend college can graduate, and that must include from a premier research university like VCU. We educate, and we certainly graduate with distinction, students who are often overlooked by our peers, including, by the way, more Pell recipients than any other research university in the Commonwealth, actually more than Virginia's other research universities combined. And incidentally, our Pell recipients do really well. They graduate at a slightly higher rate than the overall university average. You know, there's a woman whose name is Kate Nairn, and she lives in Northern Virginia. She sent 2 sons to VCU, and she recently wrote to me about our commitment to diversity and inclusion, and I wanted to read this to you. These 2, and I'm reading directly from her letter, these 2 white privileged young men have set their eyes on a future worldview and are bound and determined to be agents of change for all people. And VCU is the best place, she says, for them to acquire the skills, make the connections, and strengthen their resolve to live lives of passion and integrity. Oof. That their path to leading in a diverse world began at VCU tells me a lot, and it should tell you a lot too. I'm really proud of them. But I also recognize that we have a lot of work to do to help Kate's sons and all of our people reach their dreams. I've already announced several immediate and long-term initiatives to improve diversity and inclusion at VCU. This includes diversity and inclusion training for my leadership team, which began last week. We've done a lot in a very short time, and I'll continue to update you on the progress that we make. Now, I should mention that when I'm talking about diversity, I don't just mean race alone or some other demographic. For our university to be more relevant in a changed world, we must be certain that we also reflect the intellectual diversity of our world. When colleagues with different perspectives sit at the same table, the arc of progress gets wider and wider. We see this at VCU, where the health sciences folks work hand in hand with our people in the arts, bringing together sculptors with surgeons, stage actors with patient counselors, singers and ear, nose, and throat specialists. By being more intellectually diverse, we're becoming more relevant for people. And by the way, we're introducing a 21st century model of human health care. That's very important to us. We have the chance to do this everywhere at VCU and let the world benefit from our people and all of their great perspectives. And that makes VCU a more relevant university. The 21st century is a time like we've never seen. It demands that we think and act very differently, or become increasingly irrelevant. As Albert Einstein said, and I'm going to quote him directly, we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking that we used when we created them. Oh, so true. As the world changes, we have to change as well, by becoming more relevant for our students, for our community, and of course, for our world. None of this is easy to do, but let us boldly embrace our potential. Let us be proud of the great progress that we are making at this institution. Let us dedicate ourselves to rising and becoming a more relevant university. Thank you all so much for gathering together this morning. At this time, I'm very pleased to take questions. Because we have so many who are viewing this from a distance, unlike is typically the case for me when I like to walk around, I can't do that because the cameras can only move so far. So I will take questions from up here, and these will be coordinated by Ariane.
James Parrish, and I work in development and alumni relations, and am the product of teachers and have been in public education all my life as a student and career in higher education. So I have a real strong passion for public education, and the idea of giving students, all students, a real-world experience as part of their education sounds appealing, but I'm wondering your thoughts on how to actually deploy that, how to make it happen, how to actually make that real, because it is a big challenge to do it for more than just a pocket or pockets of students. How do you bring that to scale at a university the size of VCU?
By delivering a really inspiring speech that moves every faculty member to want to do it. So I would not have stood here and said what I did unless I felt that I have a connection to our faculty and feel that this is something that is of great interest to all of us as a faculty. It is something that we all share. It's going to take a lot of work, a lot of thought, and a lot of engagement on the part of faculty. We've obviously got to be very sensitive about workload and those sorts of things, but we need to make it part of what we do. We really don't have much of a choice because we see how well it's working in the areas in which it is working. We know we need to do that university-wide. It really needs to become part of the VCU brand. Great question, thank you.
Do we have any more questions on the floor?
Hi, so I'm Micah Davenport. I'm a transfer student. So last semester was my first semester here, and it was just amazing coming from a community college, just seeing how much opportunity there is here. And I'm just wondering, how will you help for students like me who want to take my own education and be able to do things like research independently and use like what you were talking about with the Da Vinci Center to do sort of something that I've come up with and I've created on my own? How are you going to help make students feel like their education is their own in that way?
You ask a great question, but in effect you make a really strong statement. That is exactly what this morning is about. It is about institutionalizing what you just described, making it so that no one has to ask because it is part of what we do. So you make a wonderful point. And I have great faith that my faculty colleagues and I, together with our provost and our vice president for health sciences, will be able to make this happen in a very short time frame. Thank you.
This is a follow-up question to Micah's, and I was wondering, when you say that you're going to institutionalize us making our education our own, so to speak, is it going to be more than a required internship? Because I know a lot of departments require that. Like, I know internships are hard to get, so I just want to know how specifically you're gonna help us do that.
I think it's going to play out very differently across the university, depending on the disciplines. But fundamentally, it will all be focused on who will benefit from what we're doing and connecting a student with what they learn to the benefit of the community or the communities that are most in need and are most relevant specifically to what you're learning. So that when you have the opportunity to do that, you go for a job interview, you have lots to talk about in that job interview because of what you already have done. So it will depend, and I think it is going to actually be a very, very broad discussion that may have some parameters to some extent, but it will not just be an internship. It may involve an internship, but it'll be more than that. It'll really be about what kind of positive impact you can truly, truly indicate that you have made on the lives of other people.
Hi, Dr. Rao. I'm a reporter with the Commonwealth Times.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask, amidst a broad range of renovations, $25 million for basketball practice facility or something like that, why is it that the art school students are still taking classes with asbestos coming from the ceilings and no floors?
That is a very good question, and we need to obviously continue to make priorities with regard to several criteria, one of which at the very top of the list has to be health and safety. And so you have now perked the ears of our team, and you can be certain that indications of asbestos will be researched and confirmed and addressed very quickly.
We have time for just a few more questions. Do we have any more questions on the floor? Okay, we have a couple over here.
Hi, I'm David Tony from the School of Theater. I'm the artistic director there. What is the mechanism that you're going to use to, sometimes you don't know you're the stranger, that you're the one that's out of place, and sometimes you've made yourself the stranger in the sense of being outside, in the sense of diversity. Is there going to be a mechanism that helps people figure out where they are in the group?
Could you hold the microphone a little closer and just repeat your question?
Sure.
Okay.
That's what I was afraid of, because that's what happens when I do that. In a sense of, sometimes you're the stranger and you don't know you're the stranger. You don't know things are happening that are keeping you from getting where you want to be. Is there going to be some sort of study issue, campus-wide, where I see this, it comes up, when we get those things all the time. So we can decide if we're having a problem, if there is something that we need to look at, or if the people around us, and we can suddenly turn to someone, you know, you're having a problem and you don't know you're having a problem. What can I do to help you? So will there be some sort of mechanism for carrying that out so that we can police for each other, that we can help each other, that we can reach out and touch the problems that we have and be supportive, and that, well, I guess that's it.
And in so many ways, you have really captured so well with your question a very strong statement as well, and that is that this is really all about getting development as right as we can get it. And that's what we do. We are in the human development business, and fundamentally, none of us have that very perfectly well figured out. And part of what I've also talked about is recognizing diversity, including the intellectual diversity that exists among people. And so I don't think there is any magic. I don't think that there is any single formula or any single mechanism. I do think that it's something that we're all going to have to think about, but I would caution us to think about it in ways that we know we will be willing to change it. We get fixated on doing things sometimes, and I think sometimes we think we've got the answer and we can't change it because we think we've got it so well. We rarely have it that well, and so we are going to have to give some significant thought to it. I'll give a lot of thought to your question. It's a very good one, but it's one that we really need to take up together as a faculty.
Dr. Rao, we have time for 2 more questions, one of which will come from Twitter.
Right. Let me see if I can find it here again. Wait, where did it go? Oh. Does VCU look around itself to see what the future leaders of Central Virginia need, or is it teaching to funding? This is from Twitter.
Or is it teaching to...
To funding? Funding?
What we're talking about is focusing specifically on the greatest needs of people in our community, in our region, all of our communities. And this may be a difficult time for us in one way, in that we may have to put our heads together and figure out what our priorities are. We cannot do everything. One of the reasons I mentioned just a while ago that it will be in the context of education and healthcare is because that's where we really have expertise. So we cannot solve all problems, and we shouldn't hope to, but if we really want to make a deep impact on the vast majority of lives in our communities as a research university, we will have to be very thoughtful, and we will have to be very decisive about what we do. And that's part of why the Center for the City initiative is so important, because it will create an environment in which we have the discipline to do just that. And it will engage our faculty and our staff and our students as well in talking about what the most important needs of our community are in the context of education and healthcare that we need to try to tackle.
And we have one more question. We have time for one more question. I know some folks here on my left side have questions. Are there any other questions? Okay, I'll come on this side.
Hi, my name is Elisa. I'm a student at VCU. I was really excited to hear about your call for relevancy and for addressing the needs of the community. And one community need that VCU students face on a very daily basis is the number of homeless people. And I don't mean that as a negative thing, I mean that as a very positive experience and a challenge that we all deal with. And I was wondering, inspired by the work that the medical campus does in bridging the gap, if there are any initiatives that VCU has in plan for addressing root causes of homelessness.
I think that needs to be part of the conversation. And again, when we talk about development of students, that's an important part of what we do specifically and in a focused way, but we're also talking about people in general. There are a lot of complex issues around homelessness, and we are very much engaged in that discussion right now as an institution. There is some focus with respect specifically to healthcare, but it goes well beyond that, and I can assure you of that. When I think about almost every school at the institution and the college, there is significant engagement in the homeless discussion. But the depth of our concern for our community would, of course, include the homeless, and I think we need to address that, both in the context of healthcare and education. So you have helped create an item on the agenda that I think will give us a little more focus. That's a really good point. Thank you.
And those are all the time we have for questions today, Dr. Rao.
Okay, great. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate you coming together.